What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Funcast, episode 14. Our guest today is Funguy.Mycology. Many of you know him by his Instagram profile, where he posts all sorts of mycology content, as well as some banger of some grows. Thanks for coming on the cast today, brother.
Dude, I appreciate you having me on. I've been obviously, probably from the years that I've been doing this, you've always been somebody that's been like a staple in the community. So it feels special to get to come on here.
Dude, thanks so much, man. I feel, honestly, I feel special for the fact that you're even, you accepted the fact to come on to this podcast, man. It's you've created a name for yourself. You've built, a following just based off of your mycology work, your content. Um, and it's an honor for you to even come on, and show your face, right? Because even on your page, it's very strictly Myco based. So thank you for that.
Of course, dude. I definitely have kept it, very um centered around the hobby. I try not to put my face in it a lot, just so I can. I don't know. Feel like it's not like a big important part of it, but I love to be able to come on here and if I'm having a conversation, actually, like you see my face and I see your face. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how you get into a hobby, and if when people recognize that you're passionate, that you like what you do, it connects with people. Like people like to see people that are really passionate about stuff. So I started a page that I did not think really much of it at the time. I just started doing what I really love to do, and I continue to do what I really like to do, and people really fuck with that, and I really fuck with them fucking with it. So I appreciate everybody who gives any kind of support just because I get to do what I like, and it's cool.
Hell yeah, bro. I mean, we all fuck with your work 100%. And yeah, if you guys don't know who this guy is, once you see his Instagram, you'll know that a lot of people respect his work just via the following. Um, I mean, like, brother, how did you get into mycology? What sparked the interest to, that created this idea that snowballed into this reality?
It's a couple of different moving parts, I think, like led me to this point. Like one, I've always really loved mushrooms since I was really young. Like even just my mom would bring home these portobello caps that were like bigger than my hand, just like these huge caps, and I would grab one by myself and eat the whole thing. I would just put lemon in it. So I've just been like a huge fan of mushrooms in general, like gourmet edible mushrooms. And then obviously, you get into high school, you start experimenting, and next thing you know, I started loving mushrooms in a different kind of way. And you know, after a few experiences, that were really fun and just a really great time. I kind of like had some time away from psychedelics in general. And after, I don't know, like 6 7 years of having not tried it, I kind of dabbled into it a little bit back around like the beginning of the pandemic. I found myself a handful of mushrooms, probably about like 5 grams actually, which is a lot more than I would normally take. But I was just feeling it. And
Sometimes you gotta just go with the flow, man.
I kid you not, like I came out of that mushroom trip so like shook to my core that I think I started growing like mushrooms almost immediately after. I was just like, I need to know more. I need to make this my life and my personality and my identity. And here we are, like 3 years later.
3 years later, and you're killing it, man. You know, I like 3 years later. What have been some of your, I'd say, favorite grows so far? Do you have any like personals that stand out?
I for sure love growing ape. I know that that's a controversial topic at some points because it is definitely like
Fuck Peter Envy. No, I'm just kidding.
it's at this point it's just another cubensis, but there's just something about, to me, like I do a lot of this based off of like what mushrooms look like. I really like the phenotypical differences between different fruits and different um, genetics. And ape, for some reason, that's a beautiful candle, by the way.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you. Uh, yeah, ape, like especially like the starry cap look of the
Okay.
ape.
Like
It
almost like the Blue Scaria version.
it really stands out to me, and every time I get a flush of it, it just makes me really happy. Like I feel I don't know, like a proud parent every time I see like a full flush of these apes. But aside from apes, which I know are obviously probably like the flagship strain of my page, I really like, and this is one that I got from the City Equilibrium back almost when I first started, was the PE7s. They had done like a drop based around I think a foundation, the Beckley Foundation, that were doing some work. So it was kind of like a fundraiser, and I grabbed some swabs off of that, and it was probably one of my favorite grows I've ever had. Just huge, dense fruits, just picture perfect fruits. And I've tried to bring it back. I didn't get the same results, so I'm gonna continue to try to like spore hunt and try to find that old golden nugget from like 2 years ago, if I can ever find it again.
Dude, I remember like when the PE7 came out. It was basically like a PE6 on steroids.
Just bangers, just like beautiful fruits.
And it had like the perfect. I think wasn't it like PE6? So it was still like the PE and the Texas orange cap. So it still had like the you know the feelings of both of those. And uh, who came out with that? Was it like the Joe? Was that Joe who dropped PE6? You know who Joe, like Agar Myco Joe is?
No, I don't think I do. You said
Um,
Agar Myco Joe?
yeah,
No,
I
I
know
don't.
he dropped Jedi. I think he's like a staple of the community. I'd say like the Shroomery days and stuff. I'd say Louisiana when Puga dropped the albino Louisiana. Uh, that was, I'm pretty sure, from Joe. I think Joe created or was one of like the people for Jedi Mindfuck. I think a
Okay.
good he's a huge staple of the community and was like doing micro work when it was like super scary, right? Like now times are a lot easier, even though it's still scary.
Although it's scary, I feel like the mycologists that were doing this 10 5 to 10 years ago, we're dealing with a different ballgame, like altogether. Like right now, you and I are talking with our faces online, and to a degree we probably feel like kind of safe because this is like a growing market, industry, community. That was not the case like 5 to 10 years ago, so I respect the hell out of like them pioneering the way for us to be able to do this, and who knows what's going to come down the road.
True that. The real cowboys, right? They're
True.
without them. I mean, probably none of us would be where we are today. I for sure wouldn't be. I credit a lot of my ability of just to do things today to the OGs who've taught me. Right. Obviously, we've put in a lot of R&D and a lot of work, but it's like we got to start from a place where they didn't start.
Yep. Yeah, we got to build off the backs of, others that have done a lot of the work, and in the same way, we're doing the work now, to your point, and hopefully leading the way for the next generation of mycologists to come that, are happening every single day at a very fast rate.
And I guess that's like science, right? That's like that's freaking science at the purest form. It's recording data and also letting other people read this data or
Yeah,
have
we
this
took
data
care of
so
it.
they can start at a a little bit I guess more experienced level per se. I guess we all start from the bottom, but you just have more knowledge.
For
Uh,
sure. For sure. Like at one point when people started, there wasn't, like YouTube videos about it. So they had to read books, and, you know,
yeah,
the people that read books made YouTube videos about it. And then those people that did that now are on Instagram and, continue and so on and so forth. But yeah, we're like spreading Like the mycelium network, just spreading information to every corner of the internet wherever we can get it.
Dude, like mycelium we network. Yeah. And I guess I wanted to go back to the ape part. I really, I have a lot of respect for the fact that you run apes, right? Because apes are like they're the most temperamental culture ever. um,
It
but
definitely can.
also, like, there's not a lot of ape cultures out there anymore. Back in 3 years ago, 4 years ago, there was some wicked ape cultures out. My homie Jared. Everybody, if you know, it's either like Jared or you don't know Jared. His old username was Milo Thatch, but he dropped an ape culture that was like its old like little blue nipple ape, and the caps had like a little blue ring on just the nip, or a little blue circle in the nip, and then everything else was white. And do you know who B Green One is by any
What
chance?
B Green one?
Yeah,
I don't think so. No.
he's another OG in like the genetic world. He did like a lot of work with Blue Cat back in the day.
Okay.
So he was doing Blue Cat's genetics kind of by the end. Blue Cat was just going to him. The B Green One, he also had a wicked ape culture, but they kind of died out. There wasn't a lot of ape cultures going around for even like still to this day. I don't really see like uh, the ape culture is even producing as much, right? Even if there is a culture out there, I don't see a lot of like there's dongers. A lot of them now are shorter, squattier, fruits. So it's interesting culture to see, like throughout the time how it's evolved.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy that we can literally see the evolution of this over the years we've done this? Because I recognize the same thing too. I had the first ape culture I had ran was from and this is somebody I don't think is on Instagram anymore, but Pop Shrooms. He was like an older gentleman
With
who,
glasses, the
yeah,
guy I
dude,
remember that guy, dude. He was teaching freaking anybody who that
bro,
how to grow mushrooms.
he had a vibe going on. Honestly, he would come out with the lab coat. At first, I was like, "Is this for real?" But yeah, he I got my first ape culture from him, and they were significantly bigger fruits. And the ones I've been running now, like although I've gotten some isolations that are definitely bigger, I feel like they've never been as big as I used to see them. And the people that post other ape cultures, like separate from what I'm doing, also are smaller fruits. So yeah, it's I guess that's evolution happening in real time.
Yeah, man. I would like. I wonder. You'd, um, I guess. Do you go back to spore very often with your ape cultures?
I
Uh,
do I do both at once just because I like to continue to hunt
that's the way to do it.
while like I have my stable like isolation. So I have like I have two isolations that I've really kept going. One that I'm trying to bring back, but I'm always at the same time doing like another spore run just to see if I get another cool thing or if I can lead it in another direction.
That's cool, man. I think that's the way to do it. A lot of like the best geneticists I know do that. As far as like when they're taking cultures, they will also take spores, and then they'll just take 5 cultures, take 3 sets of swabs, but then they'll also inoculate 5 plates with the spores of that fruit that they took the culture from. Um, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand that with spores. Well, I'm just kind of maybe saying this just from my experience. I'm not, from a scientific
All
standpoint.
good.
However, I
It's bro
feel
science.
in the bro science, I feel as if spores also hold genetic properties as well, but just in a lesser scale. So, like, you take a culture from a mushroom, and now that's your cloned mushroom. If you take spores from that mushroom, the fruits are still going to be, I think, like in my experience, similar to that fruit that you take the spores from, but just not as uh, constant of a thing like a culture would be. So over time, this is why it's important to buy spores from a trusted spore source as well. So over time, you're going to, you know, increase the strength of your spores, and like that increases like when I say that with like the fruiting ability, the fruiting properties, the variation of like you're going to get more than one puny little fruit that's like struggling to fruit because it's not like a bad spore. Do
Yes.
you, do you agree with that?
I do agree with that, and I'll add something on top of that. Like, and this is again just like you said, kind of like maybe more of an observation, or maybe like a mental idea, or something I have in my head. But I definitely feel like, especially when you first get your culture, like if you're getting something from a trusted source. I like to get liquid culture sometimes, but I like to immediately take it back to spore because where that culture came from has already been acclimated to somebody else's environment, to their humidity levels, to even to the amount of light that it gets ambiently or with a light setup. So the spores that would be most viable for those conditions might be different spores from the ones that would be better suited for the conditions in my place. So if I take spores from somebody and I started from spore instead of continuously doing liquid culture, getting at that back to spore. By taking it back to spore, the spores that are going to germinate and thrive are the ones that are better now, are acclimating better to my environment. Like they are growing in my environment for the first time, and these are the ones that are doing better, rather than taking mycelium, a propagation of existing genetics, and growing it in my environment where it may not, you know, just by the limitations of genetics, may not do very well in my environment. Not to like overkill this, but like that, I feel like there
That's
is a
very
lot of
important.
benefit to taking it back to spore in your environment, letting those genetics start again from babies, but with your conditions, your humidity levels, your ambient light, your light setup, whatever it may be.
I think you should absolutely put a whole lot of emphasis on that. Say it louder, brother. You know what I mean? Like um, that. That's an important aspect in mycology that a lot of people don't necessarily know that they need to understand. Whereas there's a lot of things in life, uh, you go through the steps and you complete the process. To change the radiator, you unscrew the bolts, pop off the hoses. I've done it once. I'm not a mechanic, but there's
The
like
car thing, and the yeah.
the car thing and the car thing, and then the pieces they go back together, and then for the most part you do that but it's different cars. And with mycology, and I'd say even just growing anything, first off, I guess as far as gardening goes, that's why we have our zones, uh, of where we live in the United States, and what those zones are like what the basically conditions of the area we live in are, and what we can grow. Um, with mycology, it's also a similar thing. We have our zones. You know, most of the grows are going to be indoors. However, that doesn't mean that your conditions are going to be the same as mine. You could, you're like, if you live in the desert, you're still in the desert. Uh, it compared to somebody like me who lives in the tropics. Just my ambient existence is going to be different than that of somebody who lives in the desert. So take all this information with a grain of salt for the most part. We can, both of us are very experienced in what we're doing, and we can absolutely tell you how we're doing these things, but you may just need to adjust it just a teensy bit. Um, you know,
And I
so
think that's where like research and development comes in and is important for anybody that's trying to, I think, get into mycology. Is like, don't try to do like one grow and expect that you're going to have immediate results, because you're learning about a living thing. You're learning about an organism, something that changes, evolves, dies, and can be propagated. So there's, like you said, it's not like a mechanic process. It's something that you have that has a little bit more nuance. And the more you think about it, I think in terms of an organism and as a living thing, it becomes a little bit easier to work with it, rather than trying to kind of like, I'm trying to do this step and do this tech and do this and this. It's like, okay, well, what does mycelium need right now? Is it time for it to eat? Is it time to move it to grain so it can have its carbs and again continue to grow and continue to become stronger to get to a point where I can take it to a tub, and at that point it has a little bit more, self immunity. So just thinking of it like as a living thing, and I'm sure it's the same thing for cannabis. You have seeds where you pop in and you're getting different genetics, where you can take a bunch of clones and keep the same genetic and be able to replicate that that strain that you wanted to keep, that phenotype that you wanted to maintain. So
Exactly. It's all the same. I mean, you can do that with like freaking tomato plants, for the most part, right? It's all pheno hunting at the end of the day. It's just a matter of like how we're doing that. And gosh, man, you know, it, it's kind of like it's interesting. It's interesting how you can pretty much like correlate all of it into like one, right? Pheno hunting is pheno hunting in a general sense. I feel as if like if you're into like gardening or plants or whatever, the word pheno hunt, we could be like, we know what we're doing, It's like I know what you're doing. I don't know how you're necessarily doing it, but I know in a general stance of what you're going for and goals, I guess.
yeah,
Uh,
sure. I feel like this is like science that was kind of taught to us in like middle school and high school, but like it wasn't relevant, so nobody cared. And like now we're all like a little bit older, and we're like, oh, I remember the phenos and the genos, and now we're like trying to like piece this back together. But for sure, it is. It applies to everything, and I do grow like plants myself. Like I have just house plants. I have like a ton of house plants just in my room where I work, just because they make me really happy. And I've learned time how to take better care of them, how to not take them back to spore, sort to say, but like now when I buy like a new plant from like the plant shop, I know that the plant shop's conditions were probably really suited for this plant, and it may not be the same when it comes to my house. So I try to plan ahead. I'll get it home and I'll immediately propagate it so that I can make sure if the main one dies, I have a little cutting that I can continue to grow it off of, that is going to be able to acclimate to my conditions if I can take care of it a little bit better and restart it in soil, and same process.
bro, I mean, what do you do, outside of Myco? Do you ever, well, I guess foraging is still Myco. Do you do anything outside of mushrooms? What's the life outside of the life?
I I I'm a person of hobbies, man. I feel like if there was more hours in the day, I would pick up a million other things to do. I can't, like, I like being busy in that sense.
Yeah.
So I do play music. I like to pick up the guitar every once in a while. I like to sing. Not very good at it, but I like to do it anyway. I
I feel you. I sing in the shower hella.
It's fun. It makes you feel good. Uh, I do play video games with my friends. I'm not a big gamer, but I do play a lot of Fortnite. Fortnite's close to my heart. Um, and
Hell yeah, dude. Fortnite's so hard, man. I am so bad at Fortnite, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm like, I
dude,
get
I am also
dude,
not very good.
the the 8-year-olds destroy me.
Yup. Their brain was built with this game. They're always going to be better than us, no matter what. They have the upper hand.
Yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? They could build like a whole mansion and 360 no scope me at once.
Yup.
Like, all right, I accept defeat. That's pretty awesome, dude. Man, but it's not about winning. It's not
No,
about winning all the time. Sometimes it is though. You gotta drop it. I'll drop an elbow on an
listen.
8-year-old in a video game.
I will throw my temper tantrum when I lose, but at the end of the day, like I do it because I enjoy to get together with friends and to share in a good time. Kind of like, it's just another hobby, something I enjoy to do that brings me joy. I like to do things that make me happy. Life, I feel like, is already, throws things at you. So if you can surround yourself with things that bring you joy, I say, right on. Cheers.
Dude, you can say that again. Right? Like, try to be happy, right? For the most part, our story is. I was talking to an old friend a friend of mine from skydiving. His name's Eric. Um, one day he was like, "Dude, our story's short," and and saying that just about like just life, right? And if you think about that, like life is pretty short, dude. It's like our story's already short, so it's like we really got fucking even the longest life is a short life compared to
Dude,
how
we're in
long
and
we're gonna
out.
be here.
I feel like we're like, I don't know, and like when you think in the grand scheme of existence, like we're like we're like a single breath for like the existence of the earth. It's just like our whole life is just like the earth just taking a breath and we're in and out. I don't know.
It's like a blip.
Yeah,
It's a
quite.
blip in the whole entire existence, but in our existence, it's a fucking lifetime.
Yep, it's its own kind of meaning. It's meaningful. It's meaningless and meaningful at the same time. It's a paradox.
Yeah, it is what you make it, I guess, right?
Amen to that.
um, do you? I guess, dude. But I mean, gourmets, right? Since you say you love the portobellos, you love to eat the that's how you got like into the mushrooms. Do you grow gourmets? Are you throwing down on that end?
Dude, I do. That is actually like probably 50% of like my joy comes from growing gourmets as equally as cubes. I just feel like, they're all mushrooms to me that I love to see them like, I
I
don't know,
really
flush
like that,
quick.
bro. I really, really like that.
Dude, lion's mane is one of my favorite mushrooms to grow ever. I just had a really nice flush of lion's mane, and it was so funny because I've grown lion's mane like pretty successfully in a Martha tent setup before, but my space has changed, so I was like, let me try to do it in a tub, see how it goes. Fuck around and find out. And the bags that I put inside the tub, the fruiting bodies were actually not as desirable of a morphology as the fruiting body that escaped the tub. Like I had a piece of it, like actually like go out of the FAE hole completely. It first it crawled onto the floor of the tub and it worked its way out and it crawled out of the FAE hole. It's radical. It's
What?
gnarly. And when it escaped, I let it grow out in my open air, like literally in this room. It was just sitting in that shelf right there. The fruiting body, the morphology became beautiful, like a really dense, nice fruiting body. And yeah, I cooked it up this past weekend and made some like little fillets with it and made some burgers. It's really good.
Dude, so question for you.
Yes, sir.
Like the morphologies. I like that the morphologies of lion's mane and stuff. And in the cube world, there's a lot of people finding rust spore. Albinos, leucistic varieties, different, arguably morphologies of all the same exact thing. I'll. Have you ever found anything like that in the gourmet side of things? Like, are you finding like what are some I guess morphologies you're looking for in a cloning sense, and have you found any unique ones like variegated or something along those lines?
I personally have not. I would love to get more into breeding gourmet mushrooms and actually like getting into trying to find like similar to the cubes, like the genetics that are going to be best acclimated to my conditions. I've grown like in this room. I've grown um, pink oysters, blue oysters, gray oysters, and king oysters, and none of them did that good. Like just out of my first experiment. Granted, I only tried it once, so I'm sure if I kept trying it, I'd be able to dial it in. But the one that off bat just kept showing me great morphologies was lion's mane. So I kind of been sticking to lion's mane. And now that I was able to kind of like see that distinction between what grew inside of the tub versus what it grew outside of the tub, on my next round that I'm going to be doing in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna actually like do an open air lion's mane grow. I'm gonna set like two bags on the shelf that are just going to be out in the open. When once they finish colonizing, I'm gonna, let them fruit out just like, with no specific conditions.
Yeah, just kill it.
Yeah. And see
You're gonna
how it
give it a little
goes.
spritz.
I'm gonna even try not to do that. What I'm gonna do first is I am gonna let them fully colonize, um, and start pinning inside the tub. As soon as it finishes pinning, once I see that it's already like showing, a little bit of morphology, I'm gonna take them out of the tub and I'm gonna leave them out here. And then at the same time, I'm gonna grow two in and just grow them side by side and see how they do. Because if I find that in Florida or in some sort of open air conditions, lion's mane can grow like really well, I would want to encourage more people to do that in their area. I feel like an intimidating thing to growing more mushrooms, especially gourmets, is the setup. But if you can literally just put it on your kitchen counter and have some really great grows that you can actually be happy to eat at home, I think that could be pretty game changing for a lot of people.
Absolutely, and Florida life, bro. We're out here, man. And on that note, as far as cultures, I guess this is a benefit to like the culture side of things. You can find a culture that is warm weather acclimated. Uh, so like there's people who have like lion's mane and oysters who get them from Florida, and where we have a different temperature, different environment than a lot of the United States. Um, we have like we have like summer, and then like fall for like 3 days, and then it's like right back to summer.
Yeah, our 2 weeks of winter.
So our 2 weeks of winter, yeah, for the most part, yeah. And so it's like you there are people who have those cultures, and I guess if you're getting a culture from somebody, if you're realistically, you should be. I would try to build a relationship with them, or at least find read their page. There's some people out there that are probably really busy, but I don't think I as far as I'm concerned, all of my friends, no matter how big they are, they you just message somebody. You
A
you
hundred percent.
just message somebody. You'll be surprised how far it'll get you.
Yeah, and like I mean, to your point, like if you're gonna, for me, when I get a culture like these days, when I first started, I was definitely getting it from like anywhere because I didn't know who to trust. But like if you
Same.
hear, if you're hearing it from us now, like there can't be enough said about like you know taking care of, like, if you're going to spend your money somewhere, make sure that person is vetted. Make sure that it's not somebody that maybe has never even grown the culture, doesn't know that that culture will fruit in the first place, and then you're buying it. God forbid, it may not do very well in your environment. So yeah, I think I think not necessarily like your
Properly sourcing your cultures.
Yeah, yep. And it's kind of hard a little bit, right? Because you can't just go on Google and look for Google reviews for like,
Yeah,
different breeders or geneticists. But um, I would say like ask people. Like you said, reach out to the person directly, see what kind of vibe they give you. Maybe maybe you don't even like the response they give you, and you're like, you know what, maybe I don't want to grow their culture. So I think it is kind of cool to like you don't have to be like their best friend, but like build a relationship with like somebody that's you're gonna be growing something that they've grown. Like people reach out to me all the time, and I try to get back to everybody. I apologize if it takes me sometimes, but I always try to eventually get back to somebody so that we can do that. I can get you excited about mycology
hundred
because
percent.
you're here for a reason, right?
I feel the same way, man. It's like I guess sometimes you can't get to everybody at all times, and we're all human, and at the end of the day, like right, like it's growing. Things are growing, and with more growth comes like more messages, and it can get you got to do a lot of things. So, but yeah, uh, what you call it? Properly sourcing your genetics. It's and it is hard, right? And it's like for the most part, how we feel how this community is so large, and while it is very large in the general scheme of things, it's not really at all. Like just like we were talking about our life compared to like the whole entire what existence of everything. Uh, the community, the Instagram community is not like the well known. I
No,
mean, it is,
it
but it
feels
isn't.
big to us, but it's definitely not as big as any other industry or
Yeah, it's
community.
like if you go to the grocery store, you're not gonna. Most likely, you're gonna be the only person in the grocery store who knows about this community. Uh,
Yeah, good point. That is very true.
uh, it's definitely not like football, even though we feel like it is. Um, so, with that being said, um, I guess go on Instagram and look for this small community of people, and then we'll help you vet who we can who we trust.
We'll put a guide. We'll create a guide for how to source your proper
Yeah,
genetics.
no, but realistically speaking, so there is Reddit, right? I think Reddit. I used to be really, really active on Reddit, and I'm not active on Reddit anymore at all. Um, I started a Reddit subreddit called r/Myco buy sell trade,
Okay.
and that's for like spore sales, gourmet cultures. Obviously no illegal anything allowed. Um,
I think what can help is if you ask for pictures, like if they aren't already displaying it, because maybe not everybody's doing what we're doing. Is if you're asking for somebody, like have them show you pictures of their grow, and
yeah,
I guess it's kind of hard to know if it was really them or not, but that's at least a place to start.
and I would just speak to the person realistically. I think before I did my first grow, I was like probably 6 to 7 months deep into form articles. Uh, I didn't read any books. Can't even lie. It was all online for me.
I was a
Ar-
YouTube student.
Arvin 47, man.
Yes, dude, Arvin 47. Yeah, that's basically like my whole like mycology upbringing was just Arvin 47.
I want to give a big shout out to Arvin 47 because that man taught me everything that I needed to know.
Yeah, I hope he knows like how much he like changed the game of mycology because I know he's not like as active anymore, but he definitely had like a big hand in a lot of what like mycology community is like today.
100%. I mean, his videos were like from like I think YouTube got him. He's got a nice Instagram following, and that was like one of the when he followed me back, I fangirled. I was like, yo, I was like, you don't even know, dude. I was like, are you serious right now? R47 following me? Like, oh, what's up, bro? Yeah, man. His videos were like that's it. In my opinion, he was like the first YouTuber, like really blogging his shit.
He just made it seem so doable. It was just a guy with a camera just talking about what he was doing, and it was easy to follow.
Yeah, he was just like, hey, what's up, guys? So we're gonna get like 50-50 cocoa berm, and then we're gonna add like 3 tablespoons of gypsum. And then like the next video is like, hey, what's up, guys? So I fucked up on that video, but we're gonna do it the right way this time. So we're gonna do the same thing, and then uh but he showed failures sometimes, but he showed a lot of his successes, and that man was growing apes. That man, that man was growing apes like fucking I don't know 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Uh, I don't know. He taught me a lot. Yeah, taught you a lot. And I think it's kind of crazy. He probably taught a lot of people a lot. I wonder how much he really knows how much of an influencer he is.
Right? like genuinely like changed my life. You know, I've never had a conversation with him, but like my life probably wouldn't be like the same if he hadn't done what he did. So blessings to Arvin 47.
I feel the same. Big blessings to Arvin 47. Guy's a legend. Um, I'd say. So, with that being said, who are some of your your mushroom idols?
Man, especially like towards the beginning, like Arvin 47 was one of them. I think there was somebody called like Big Grow for 20 or no, Big Grow something. But they were on YouTube as well because YouTube was where I was like I'm a big YouTube guy. You know, ever since I was like a little kid, that's where I get all my information. Um,
Yeah,
not
for
recommend
sure.
anyone to do that, but I like when I wanted to learn how to grow mushrooms, I just watched every video I could find about growing mushrooms online multiple times. Like the same video, I would just watch it like 10 times until the information was just like drilled in there. And Arvin 47 was one of them. Mycotrophic was one of them, certainly in the beginning. Um, of course, Philly Golden Teacher was Sensei. Like I think around the time I got into this, he was just starting to kind of like make a lot more videos. So it was perfect timing for me because I was able to jump on and really learn a lot from that. 90-second mycology inspired the hell out of me, especially in terms of feeling like um, I don't know, the scope of what you can do with materials and not having to follow like specific texts and being able to like fuck around and try different things. So everybody had like a small part to play, but those are like the big players, you know, those are the ones that really like um inspired me. And then once I got into mycology and joined the community, um, you know, like for a lot of other people, Basidium Equilibrium is like the
Oh my god.
golden staple of what you could do with mycology. That dude is connected to the mycelium in a special way. I took his agar alchemy class like 2 years ago, maybe. That
Hmm.
really changed the game for me. That leveled up my mycology game and my understanding, and definitely my relationship with mushrooms. More importantly, like how I interact with mushrooms, how I view them more now as an organism rather than a bunch of text to follow. Like that was definitely a big part of Basidium's education.
Bass is one of my best friends. I'd say. Uh,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Per
we
person right there.
yeah, he's a wonderful guy. We were I remember just chatting in the beginning, just talking, just talking shop. Back in like the I want to say 2019, 2020, when nobody really had a business. Everybody was pretty much just like really getting into mycology, or it's like, like there was only a couple people with flow hoods at the time. And now there's some people doing the things, and it's like, Bass was always, killing it with genetics. I remember him. I remember we've had so many conversations, just like talking all night, theorizing like what it'd be, like transfers and spore this and that. Uh, you know, Even like Myco alchemy, right? Jeremiah. He was one of the first people I remember starting serial dilution, back in the day. And he like that guy was one of my inspirations in mycology. It still is. I feel like a lot of people still inspire me. We're all still inspiring each other, right? We're just in a different position.
For sure, for sure. And I also like I feel like maybe not super off topic, but kind of on the same topic. The longer you're on Instagram or the longer you're part of any community, the more you get to know people, the more that your page is probably going to grow, right? Because it's just based off time that you've been online. Let that not be like a discouraging thing for anybody that's getting into mycology. Like following follower counts and the Instagram followers and all those things are like not important when it comes to like the actual hobby we're doing. So just because somebody has a lot of followers or because they have a certain presence doesn't mean a lot. Like You get more out of like have a conversation with them, like you said,
Yeah,
see what they're
you
about.
know, it means nothing.
It
It
means nothing.
absolutely means nothing.
It's a game. It's like another video game, dude. We're just collecting like another
It's
unit.
the Matrix.
100%. Like
And
unimportant
on
shit.
that note, aliens. No, no,
Perfect.
yeah, for real. Like, don't stress about the followers, right? It's this whole thing where it's just meant to like look good, and it looks good. That's
Yeah,
all it is.
that's it. And again, like
But only
it
looks good because of the
doesn't.
societal standard.
Yeah. Um, but like we're human beings, you and me, we're approachable people.
Correct.
The same, I'm sure, goes for any other big, name mycologist or any other industry. Feel comfortable to approach people, especially like if you have questions and you want to learn something, and then you're feeling like, oh, I don't know if they'll answer me. Like, I'll answer you. I will. It may take me a day or two, but I will answer you.
Dude,
Um,
even like the Entheogen Expo. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
it's
no,
like I met Alan Rockefeller,
that's so cool, dude. That's freaking awesome.
but it was like I was in like waiting in line, like just to be like, "Hey, bud, can I get a photo?" And you know what I mean? It's just like, uh, we're all human,
Yeah,
right?
we all play the game. We all play the game. It's part of the fun. But
Yeah.
that's what it should be. It should be like fun, not like a serious thing to take seriously.
No, I mean, take it seriously. I guess as much as you have to, right? If you're doing this for like a living, and you need to make certain quotas, take it as serious as you need to take it, but don't I guess can't always be tight butthole. Sometimes you got to be loose butthole.
Dude, that's perfect. I'm gonna put that on my wall. I'm gonna live by that. Those are words to live by. Never forget.
Never forget, guys. Never forget. Um, Gosh, bro. Well, I guess on that note, we should freaking meet up sometime and maybe go forage, or if anything, just go to the beach or whatever.
Dude,
I
there
don't take
that
advantage
dude,
of the
cool.
beach being in Florida. Believe it, who goes to the beach if you live in Florida?
I like the beach every now and then. We've got a few nice beaches, but dude, no, I'm seriously like I would be down to get together and just kick back, shoot the shit. But it would also be cool to do like an in-person podcast where we're just like doing the same thing, but like sitting next to each other, like they do in the professionals in the YouTube worlds and the Joe
Dude,
Rogan.
I'm 100% down, man. Currently I'm only using my like laptop, but we can make it work. I got
We'll make
I
it
got a
work.
nice couch. You could come on down. We can like do a little like podcast sitting on the couch. We can maybe get some lab work done. Go grab some food or something. Do the whole shebang. We'll talk about more about that.
I'm about it.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Oh, that's cool, man. So we could find you by your Instagram.
Yes, sir. I've got content on Instagram. That's where I'm primarily at. I would say that's where I'm answering. Like if you want to reach me, send me a message on Instagram. I'm most likely answering there. I have videos on YouTube. Just a few tutorials and a couple other things I do. Um, I've I've come on the podcast for Myco and Mycotrophic. I have different instances where I've shared information. But yeah, I'm online. That's where you can find me. Funguy.Mycology. But dude, thank you so much for having me on. This was a great conversation. Honestly, it felt very natural too.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on and just chatting with me. It did feel natural. Believe it or not, guys, this is the first time we've ever had it face to face convo, and other than that, we've like spoken very briefly via text. So you got basically the first interaction. And it was a great one, man. Thanks for so much for coming on the cast. Um, I'm gonna, I guess, get back to bagging this substrate. Um, and I will, shoot you a text and we'll get together and, you know,
Sounds like a
make the
plan, man.
meetup happen.
Thank you again, and whenever you want to do this again, I'm very down. But I look forward to seeing other guests that you'll bring on because you've been having some awesome guests. And hell yeah, cheers, man.
Cheers, bud. You have a nice evening. Much love.
Much love.
Peace.
Peace.